Bosla. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode.
Hi, everybody. How are we? It's sunny here. I know I keep complaining about the weather, but it's sunny today, so I'm not going to complain. I will complain tomorrow, though, because somebody told me it's going to be crappy, and then I looked at the Weather Network, and there's a special statement about rain, and I'm really not happy with that. But we are happy today. So, enough of that. Today with us, we have Rhonda Parker Taylor. Hello.
Hi, how are you? Hello, everybody. And it's sunny in Indiana, too, so I get what you're talking about. We had a brutal winter. It was cold, and then it finally broke, and we had a little bit of sun, and then it rained. So what do you do?
Yeah.
We have sun today, too, so I think it might be a good day for a walk once this is all over.
Yes, I went for a walk at lunch. We took the puppy for a little walkie walk at lunchtime. He was so happy because he doesn't usually get a midday walk. It's usually like morning or night. So he's super stoked for that. So tell us a little bit about who Rhonda is.
Well, I'm an author, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a researcher. When I mean researcher, on the academic side of life, I have a PhD. So people might say, well, why is she here? Why is she talking? She's done everything. No, the problem is when I was young, I had learning challenges. And I had sitting still challenges, and I'm kind of old and seasoned. So if you can see my gray hair, you'll know that. So they didn't give us a title.
Yes.
All they would do is say, that's a good person, that's a bad person. That person can't sit still. That person that person can follow directions. And so we didn't have all the help that we have today in today's world. Well, look, we get a friend that just joined us.
We do. This is Binks. Here, guys, let's all look at Binksy because she's adorable. Say hi. There's Binksy. She is the newest addition to the house. I mean, we've had her now a few months, but she still is the newest addition. I was trying to get her to lay on my lap, but now she's at the window, which I guess is a nice spot when you're a kitty. But she loves to cuddle, and her purrs are just, oh, so cute. I was playing with my necklace like this. I was going back and forth, and she kept going. So I've got her attention again because I did that. So if you see me doing this, it's because I'm getting the cat's attention.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump in here because you've already started the talk. You're saying you were having learning difficulties and you couldn't sit still, and so how did that help or hinder you as a young child? Because I know when I was in school, I'm talking not in the 90s because we're talking elementary school for what I'm gonna say, exactly what you said. Well, that kid has trouble and that kid's a good kid, and that is exactly what it was. It was like that kid was trouble because they wouldn't sit still. It wasn't that they needed help. They're trouble.
Right, exactly. I flunked kindergarten. Who flunks kindergarten? Me.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and then the worst thing about it is I think I had anxiety because I couldn't, do everything the way people wanted me to do. And so we would sit there and then you're learning to read and you have to stand in front of the class. And I hated that. Then the teacher would say, get your hair out of your face. That's why you can't read and you can't, concentrate if you're doing this. And then so I found out the first time I had a stomach ache, I went to the nurse and they sent me home.
Oh, that's a great learned behavior.
For bad behavior. So guess what? Every time I knew that we had English after lunchtime, I would have an upset stomach. I would go to the nurse. Well, then they would at least let me lay down and miss English, and then I could go back, when I felt better. But then I found out that if I had a fever, I got sent home for sure.
Oh, even better.
Even better. So then I get home and leave it to Beaver and Father Knows Best and Spanky and Friends and all, Little Rascals. They would all be on.
Yeah, all the things that you want.
Better than standing in front of the classroom
Yeah.
and not being able to concentrate in front of everybody and turn around and get rewarded for, and with my favorite shows after school. So I might as well just be sick and not participate.
Right? I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I think everybody out there in the audience would think the same thing. Hey, why don't we just reward children and not make them do what scares them? Why not let them go home and not be something that we have to deal with?
Right?
And that's to me.
Yeah.
So then by the time I got older, I was just an average to poor, to just barely passing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would had to pass my English proficiency test to graduate.
Oh no.
And I didn't pass it my junior year. And the teacher was talking to me, and she says, "I'll tutor you over the summer."
Mm-hmm.
And we sat on the floor, and she worked with me, and she went at my level and at what I could understand. And there was no anxiety, and she learned about me and into that. And so anybody that has a child that's struggling, or even yourself, even as into adulthood, we can have that.
For sure.
You might say, wait a minute, what is it that fits their learning style, their personality, their strengths, their weaknesses? And for me, that not sitting still was a symptom that should have been screaming everybody. She may have what they would have called in my day hypertension, but today it would be ADHD.
Yeah.
And it was never diagnosed. It was never worked with. But that particular teacher sat with me. Oh, somebody loves you so much.
She's trying to get my necklace.
Same kind of love. She wants that necklace.
I know.
She's going to keep on going after it. And in doing that, I passed my proficiency test. She changed the whole trajectory of my life.
Isn't it amazing when a teacher takes the time to get to know you?
Mm-hmm.
It makes a world of difference.
Mm-hmm. It does. And it helps you not only understand yourself, but when you get that connection, you can learn the material and like it. But so that started a foundation, though, for me to be able to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So I got first, I was fearful. So, what do? You pick, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a certificate and it's degree. Then I got a bachelor's. I realized I could do it. Then I got a master's and I realized could do it. And then I got a doctorate.
Wow.
But it was because one person worked with me at the level that I could work at.
Mm-hmm. That must have been, yeah?
Yes.
That must have been such an amazing feeling, because I can only imagine, and I'm totally assuming here, but up to this point, you maybe felt dumb, right?
Yeah, my brother, smart one.
Yeah, and people picking on you because you didn't pass it, and teenagers are mean. Like, kids are mean.
Yeah, luckily, I had, at an early age, the social skills that at least I didn't, the only ones that maybe the older kids might have, and the group of us. But I luckily didn't get a lot of the bullying.
Oh, good.
But that's why when I got in school and I started having to read different kinds of seminal kind of research, Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence really helped me. And I would highly suggest any parent out there, anybody struggling, get that book. He's got several on emotional intelligence, and learn about emotional intelligence. Your IQ is not what makes you successful. It helps, but your IQ is what you're born with. You can't change it. There's nothing you can do about it. Your EQ, which is your right brain, is your ability to thrive and have social skills. So I read the book and I was like, oh, I don't have to be the brightest bulb in the bunch. All I have to do is learn how to use my social skills.
Yeah.
And work through my own thing through self-awareness, self-care, and, I can thrive just like anybody else.
That is such an amazing thing because we definitely, if people are constantly saying you're the bad kid, you're stupid, you're failing, you're gonna internalize that stuff.
Right.
But that's not the case. It's that your brain is maybe processing information in a different way. Therefore, you need to learn it in a different way.
Yeah, and if you never get your arms around that, your confidence just keeps on going down and down, down and down, to where then it's like what ended up happening is me going home and not even trying.
Yeah.
So
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? And it's a whole lot more fun not to have to deal with any of it.
Oh, right, exactly.
But the hard thing about that is if we don't teach ourselves and others and our children how to face those fears, we carry that along with us all through life. So
yes,
we get into similar situations, it's a whole lot easier not to even try. So that's why I continued to work on my weaknesses so that those weaknesses can become strength. And that's why I ended up writing like Crossroads, my suspense novel, because I wanted to accomplish it. I like to read. I wanted to do a suspense novel that everybody could enjoy. I wanted to draw people in and see that life balance is important too, which is one of the main premises of the book, that life balance and your emotions are very important to who you are and what your identity is and how successful you are. So I wrote the book and then I let it sit there. What did I do? I ran. Just like I did when I was a kid. I ran. It's like, when are you going to do something with all this writing that you do and all this journaling that you do? What are you going to do?
Yep.
Why aren't you doing anything for it? And I said, well, I've got this project going and this client that I'm working on. And she said, that's not it. If it was their project, it would already be published.
Right, exactly. We tend to put off our own stuff.
Yeah.
Right? We're our own worst critics, but you're going to get everybody else's stuff done.
Yep. Yeah. She said, you're fearful. She says, you're afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you know what? She was right. Within a week or two later, I had a publisher because I applied myself. And we all have to come to that point where we just take it upon ourselves to better ourselves for us.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of like looking at, how one of the worst things about cooking is the prep work.
Yes.
The cutting up of the vegetables. But if you look at it as you're washing and you're cutting, as those beautiful fruits and vegetables and what they're going to do for your body.
Yes.
Start visualizing the importance of those nutrients for your strength, and really that cutting up of fruits and vegetables is loving on yourself.
It's a good way to put it, especially I hate cooking. I hate it. I look for the pre-cut vegetables. I'm that person because I hate.
I was too, and then it's like, why am I paying $4 more for when I could just cut it up? And I realized that my mindset was that it was work.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But if I change that mindset, is okay. You've been sitting because that's what you do for a living, typing, working, reports, stuff. And look at it as, this is a chance for me to stand, take my frustrations out with
the chopping.
Yep. Don't
watch fingers.
And visualize and meditate on those fruits and those vegetables and how that is going to better my life. But this is just as important as putting makeup on, putting skincare products on, and not looking at it as a chore.
For sure, yeah.
Look at loving on self.
I like that. Well, I'll have to try and change my thinking on that one because, I am that person. Definitely that person.
And, especially during the pandemic. during the pandemic, what do we want to do?
Yeah.
Order DoorDash because we couldn't go out to eat anymore.
Right, I know. Actually, I did actually learn how to cook, sort of, during the pandemic, but I think I was a strange one. When people talk about the pandemic, I'm like, oh, it was a great time. Most people are like, what? I'm like, oh, I'm the weird one. All right, it's fine. So you mentioned finding strategies and coping things that helped you. What are some of those?
I think the first thing is learning the power of calm.
Okay.
The power of calm for me is I've had ups and downs in life.
Yeah.
We lose parents, we have sick ones in our family, we become sick,
Yeah.
I've had deaths, that I've had to deal with. And I started journaling and I realized that sometimes in those throes of financials, problems, divorces, whatever I was going through, because we all go through them
Yeah.
of some sort. They might be different topics, but same experiences,
Yeah.
that I was part of the storm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When you think about those trying moments in our lives, we are in a storm.
Yeah.
But if you learn to be in the middle of the storm and realize we're part of that energy,
The
we
eye of the storm.
the eye of the storm where the calm is. So yes, things might be whipping around us. Things might be changing our direction. We might have had a personal decision that we made that cost us money, or our relationships or whatever, and we've made a mistake. Or maybe it's a life hit moment. In my case, one of the worst moments was a loved one was at work and he got shot and killed.
Oh my gosh.
And I was faced with the death of a loved one that was young, that should all the people that I'd had a death in my family for before were people that were older. They had their lives, and you could see the progression, and you could experience the life cycle with them. I'd never experienced something like that, but I realized that storm could either be a detriment to me, or I could learn to generate positive outcomes for self, even with the loss. And that is by claiming the pain, claiming the disability, claiming the shortcomings that I had, whatever it might be, and moving forward through it with the storm, with the clouds, until the sun came out again. But by not adding to the storm. I don't want to make my life a hurricane, but you know what? When we're going through it, sometimes we do.
For sure we do, yeah.
So for me, that was that finding the power of calm and emotional intelligence, and regulating self, and recognizing when other people are going through things, and creating a calm for them around their storms too.
Yes.
Is a big part of being able to be not only successful, but having self-improvement for life.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I like the analogy of the storm too.
Right. And we have to realize that we're all broken glass at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
We're shattered glass that goes down to the bottom of the ocean. And if we are cognizant of what the stress we're going through, we can become sea glass. The sea can work out those rough edges and the hurt and the pain, and spit us back up on the beach as a shiny gem. And there's nothing wrong with it's so many times we think there's something wrong with us when we're broken.
Yes.
When we become that shattered glass for whatever happened in our lives, we look and we question, why did this happen to us? Why did this do this? And we feel anger to a point that, we realize that, we don't realize that the winter will pass at some point.
Yeah. That's exactly. And I love the sea glass. Nobody has ever described it like that. I'm like, I like that. That's good.
It's something that, when I was writing Resilience, which will be coming out soon, it's a workbook, but the first half of it is on the education of what resilience is. We have our spiritual, we have our physical, we have different kinds of resilience in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Draw upon that. I was like, what is an image that we could really see that would parallel, or could be even a parable to what it's like when you're going through hard times and you're trying to find resilience. And that's what I came up with.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So do you have anything else, any other pieces of wisdom before you tell us a little bit more about the book and the one that's coming?
I think the main thing that I would tell people is, life is always going to be challenging. But, no good sailor came from smooth seas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a parable. I didn't make that up. That's a proverb. I think it's an African proverb.
Okay.
We all can be successful. But we have to define it in our own terms. My success is not what somebody else's success would be.
Yes.
Somebody might want financial success. So another person may want relationship success. Another person may just want to have no bumpy roads for a while. Another one might just want to, be able to have a house. Whatever your success is, and whatever you define yourself as, you can have it. You just have to put the things in practice to get there and stay committed to your own self-love. If not, what we'll end up doing is we'll give ourselves away on the discount rack at Goodwill.
Yeah. And let's not do that. All right. So tell us, you mentioned the book already, and you mentioned a workbook that's coming out. So tell us a little bit more.
Okay. So one of my passions is writing. Like I said, I struggled with it, but I wanted to do it. So my first one, and for anybody doing video versus audio, is Crossroads. It's a suspense novel. It's based out of Indianapolis. It is fiction. It's more of like an Agatha Christie kind of Clue, but all the sites are real in Indianapolis. So, there has the city county building, the Monument Circle. It has Holiday Park and the dead bodies found behind one of the malls and on 38th and Guyan Road. And the main character is a workaholic that thinks that she has everything together, and then she gets called to jury duty. And her whole life falls apart because she's a workaholic. She's out of balance. And while she's on the jury, she tries to get out of it because she has to get back to work. But, we all know workaholics don't do well if you give them something new to do. Mm-hmm. While she's there, she's also evaluating her life. And then Dave, the prosecutor, he's also somewhat of a workaholic, but he's more of the law and order guy. Everything's about black and white, right and wrong. And he's there trying to run the trial. And he has his own demons that he has to follow because when you're out of balance in any area of your life or your attitude, things are going to happen sometimes. And then Billy Knuckles is a co-defendant, and he's out of balance too. And he's dedicated to his friends. Oh. And now he's the co-defendant of a murder. He got in the car. He didn't have the willpower to say no. And now he's either got to rat out his friend or take the charge. So you have them all in a room together. They're all out of balance. They have no idea what they're doing and what they're going to do in the meantime. And there's little droplets of clue, and they all experience 3 emotions: anger, fury, and envy. Anger is cruel, fury is overwhelming, and who can stand before jealousy? Envy makes the bones rot. That comes from Proverbs. So the whole book is trying to get you to think about, are you balanced in your life? It's endorsed by Meryl Hemingway. For those that are in the younger generation that don't know who she is, she's the granddaughter of the great Ernest Hemingway. She's also an author herself and an Academy Award winning actress and Golden Globe actress. And she liked the book and put it in her book club because it was about balancing and taking care of self. And when you don't, things happen. And she experienced that in her life, whether it was her fighting for, family members in addiction, whether it be, some of her families had mental health issues. And so she's a real big mental health advocate. And the one thing that she says about the book is we all come through a crossroads where we have to decide what's right.
Yeah.
And eventually we have to just realize that even chocolate has an expiration date. I didn't believe her. I had to look, and it does.
That's fantastic.
So if you like crossroads and you like a good suspense book, I use them as a case study for my next book, which is A Journey to Life Balance. And as
that's a cool picture.
And everybody, all the things that we're trying to balance in our lives, can be scarred up by all the things that we do in life, and you have to nurture it, and it uses all the characters as case studies.
Oh, cool.
And we create our own miracle love of self and goal-oriented strategy for ourselves that's not just finance-oriented or career-oriented. It takes all 13 dimensions, and we start with, if you close your eyes today and you wake up tomorrow and everything's perfect, what does your life look like? And we go through the whole process of creating your life, not somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And then the third book that's coming out that I mentioned is Resilience. And it is half of it is education on what resilience is, and the last half of it is almost like a devotional where you can go through. It's a 31-day challenge. You can go through and pick up words that are going to help you be more resilient. How to confirm yourself with positive talk, visualization, and gratitude lists, and puts it all together. And then it has poems too. I should have brought one. I could have read one to you.
Yeah.
But it's about times that when I was going through storms, when I was journaling, I had created poems. So I put 31 of them in there to share. Also, and then also illustrations through art, so that you can visualize hiking up the mountain or doing whatever it is that the visualization is.
Love it. Love that. And where do people get the books, and when is that one coming out?
Resilience should be next month. Well, and we are taping for those, or we live.
We are live, so next month.
So it should be out in into April, beginning of May. And they can find me on Amazon. My website is RhondaParkerTaylor.com. And then all my social medias are on there. But you can do it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the major platforms. You can find the books. If you're in Indiana, all the Barnes & Nobles have them in the stores. And I've gone into each one and signed them all.
Oh, I love it.
Signed copies. Illinois, same thing. If you're outside of that area, no, I'm sorry, I haven't traveled in a little while into other areas to get to sign books.
I love that, though. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I love your platform. And for everybody out there, just have a great day. Make every day great.
Right, I like that.
As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye!
Perfect. So, let this finish uploading here.